This episode of the Leap Forward podcast is brought to you by bridgeLT, leaders in conversational learning and innovation. Through AI role plays, technical simulators, and comprehensive training programs, bridgeLT is revolutionizing the future of corporate and enterprise education.
Today on Leap Forward, we're joined by Kim Lewington, a dedicated aviation advocate and volunteer with the Fly to Help charity. With extensive experience in air traffic control and airport management, Kim shares her insights into the world of aviation and the role Fly to Help plays in guiding young people toward exciting aviation careers. From hands-on learning experiences to impactful mentorship, Kim highlights the importance of creating opportunities in the field. Let's take off. So I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by Kim. Kim, welcome to Leap Forward. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about what you do and what your role is.
So, my role at the moment, I did try and retire a couple of years ago, but I volunteer quite a lot of my time with a charity called Fly to Help, Aviation charity, based at Gloucestershire Airport, although we go all over the place. My background, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do when I left school. My qualifications were pretty basic, no opportunity to go to university or do A-levels, so I was quite a sporty 16-year-old, ran a lot, competed a lot, so I thought the best option would be going into the Air Force and continue with my running. So I went to the local careers office that they used to have then, and he said, "What job would you like in the Air Force?" Which was a bit of a letdown. I thought I could just run. But anyway, I did a test and they said, "Oh, you could do air traffic control, but you're a year too young." Air traffic control didn't mean a thing to me. Gloucestershire, where I live, we did have a local airport, but I didn't know anything about it, had never been. So I went to the careers office and said, I need work experience for a year before I reapply for the Air Force. And they said, "We've got just the thing, a 6-month youth opportunity scheme that the government used to run in the control tower at Gloucestershire Airport," which was then called Staverton. And it's like one of those moments in life where you think, "Oh, something's working out well for me here." So I applied and I got in. At 16 years old, I walked up the stairs to a control tower. Didn't know, well, I sort of knew the front from the back of an aeroplane, but beyond that, absolutely nothing. They spoke a different language, quite a different environment to school. No disrespect, quite a lot of older men working there, had been there for years, and the 16-year-old girl sort of turns up and all enthusiastic. I think it was a bit of a surprise to them as much to me, to be fair, but absolutely fell in love with aviation. 360-degree windows looking out towards the Gloucestershire countryside and aeroplanes all over the place. The busyness of it, I just loved. So a few months later, they actually offered me a full-time job. I went to a bigger airport a couple of years later thinking bigger airports are better. Not necessarily the case, because at a smaller airport you get an opportunity to do so many different jobs. Right. So I sort of got a real good insight into everything in aviation, really. And a couple of years after that, they decided to sort of fund me and paid for me to train as an air traffic controller. So off I went, and pretty tough, in fact very tough, very challenging. Didn't sort of run as smoothly as it could have done, really hard, tested me. Didn't think I could do it a lot of the time. Persevered and got through. So stayed at the airport for years. After I left air traffic, worked in the management team at Gloucestershire Airport. And then Fly to Help came along, and the bit of my job I started to enjoy at the airport were inviting schools and youngsters into the airport and showing them around. When you work at an airport, you don't sort of see the wow factor like somebody new does when they sort of turn up for a day. And when Fly to Help wanted somebody to run their Aim High program to sort of help the next generation and give them information and guidance of how to get into aviation, it was perfect for me. So
wow. Tell us all about Fly to Help.
So Fly to Help's an aviation charity based at Gloucestershire Airport, although we do schemes all over the UK. Set up by a passionate group of aviators 16 years ago, and knowing they'd sort of had a good time with aviation, with their careers, using it sort of for business, pleasure and whatever, they wanted to sort of help people, youngsters, sort of get into the same industry as them. So the Aim High scheme was developed. So we hold week-long schemes, sometimes taster days. COVID had we had to rethink what we do. But basically we try and invite youngsters to airports and go behind the scenes and have opportunities to go into different companies and meet people actually doing the jobs, because that is just such a bespoke thing to do nowadays. Aviators opening doors, hangars opening doors for us. But as a charity with some very sort of passionate people in it, and people are well known in the industry, I shouldn't say it's easy to do, but people are very happy for Fly to Help to bring youngsters in. And from that, to date, there's lots of people that are working in the industry, whether it's flying, engineering, there's air traffic controllers, there's lots of different people. I even had a message today on LinkedIn to somebody that's actually working at Gloucestershire Airport saying thank you for the support that we've given him to get where he is now. So it works well. But the reason it works well is because we can actually physically bring people to see what's going on.
And how important is that, do you think, in the world today?
Everything's online and it's great. The digital world is fantastic, and it's opened up the world. But I think a lot of youngsters are getting so using online research and nothing else, forgetting the art of communication. COVID didn't help with a couple of years, completely like heads in phones or on computers. And research, aviation as well as any other industry, if you Google something, it just becomes a whole different language, and then you go down that route and then you get so confused. And I actually believe that after that, people then think, oh no, this is far too hard. Go into careers, people go into careers teacher saying, oh, I want to be a pilot, or I want to do this. Some of the feedback is, oh, that's, it's really hard. Yes, it is going to be hard, but so are a lot of things that we really want to do. So if we can get people into airports, especially general aviation airports like Gloucestershire Airport, there are so many major companies there, commercial flying schools, helicopter flying schools, engineering companies, all within an airport. And you take a group of teenagers into those environments when they're just about maybe thinking of a career in aviation, or not really sure what they want to do and need some motivation and inspiration in their life. It's so straightforward, really. It is quite simple, but it's having the opportunity to be able to do it. So through Fly to Help, we can help hundreds and hundreds of students with our Aim High scheme. So it's fantastic.
And I think it's really interesting because you've lived it yourself, right? Going in there as a 16-year-old, climbing up kind of to the tower itself, and I think I have 3 kids myself, and I completely agree with you that there is this big wide world out there, but it's very, very hard to actually kind of start to kind of unlock that, right, and understand really what is out there. How do you experience it? Because from the outside, you might be lucky enough to go on holiday or whatever, and you visit an airport, but you don't really know kind of what's the story behind the story and what all of those different roles and jobs are.
Yeah, and it's how to get them. So last week we had 13 teenagers, and I think 8 of them were looking to be pilots, a couple of engineers, and a couple of sort of unsure. But where do they go if they want to be a pilot? How much is it going to cost? What qualifications do they need? What are the stages? What do they need to learn? What is there anything they can do now while they're at school to help that? And also those that aren't sure or then think, well, pilots, it might be out of reach financially. We tell them about all the schemes that airlines are doing now and all the scholarships that are available to help out. But something else might actually sort of interest them as well. So we've got an air traffic control college at Gloucestershire Airport, and Global ATS. It's like the only well, there's two in the country, but they were fantastic. They opened the doors. They over lunchtime they laid on a air traffic control exercise, so these students put on headsets and they were talking to what they thought were pilots with a fantastic simulator with aeroplanes that they were clearing to land and talking to, quite nervous, and obviously they'd never ever done that anything in their life, but they were fantastic. And I think we came away with about 3 or 4 really seriously considering that air traffic control career, and that's sort of proves the point. You
Yeah.
do it, you see it, you have a go, and that's the thing. It's having a go. And then went to an airline academy, sat in the aircraft, talked to a young training pilot, and who showed them around the aircraft. And she was fantastic. She's nearly finished her flight training, but she's only a few years older than they are. So that just makes it within reach.
It's real, right? It's
Yeah,
achievable.
yeah,
When you can
yeah,
sort of almost
yeah,
identify with
And we took them to a classroom as well, so they had a couple of lessons as well from the instructors at the academy that then made them sort of feel what it would be like to be in that environment. So again, it's just excited them and motivated them. Now they're going to work hard. They're going to look for scholarships. They're going to see where they want to go from there now. So.
And the organizations and companies that are supporting you, what do they get out of it?
Oh, so much. I mean, people that we've had on our scheme have actually gone and signed up and joined the airline academy, or they've trained at the air traffic control college. So from a financial point of view, from a customer point of view, they get that. But what they see is, I think it's more the youngsters that are already there, trainee pilots, giving back to people only a few years, because it's them that want to get involved. When you walk around, it's everybody's asking, "Oh, can I help? Can I?" Everybody wants to help. But that's what these businesses are about. They've got 5-year plans, 10-year plans. They need to keep attracting people for all these years forward. So they're wide open doors to us coming in with a lot of youngsters. And very grateful. As a charity, we've got to fill a week. And you think, when I'm planning it, it's like, is this going to happen? And to be fair, by the 3rd day, I think the group I had were actually happy to have quite a long lunch break for the first time, because I think I felt
Pretty
every
intense.
single hour and every half hour that was spare, I would stop by and ask someone to talk to them, because at an airport like Gloucestershire, you're walking around, and I've been there years and years, and people go hi, and they might, one did that, he was a helicopter pilot for the police, so just chat to them about how you got there, and it's everybody's story goes into the next generation's head.
And that's a great segue for me, the next generation. How important is, you talked about, getting into the tower and being surrounded by slightly older white men, basically. How important is it that next generation, is kind of engaging with the current generation?
It's really important, and what I try and promote to them, because obviously that, especially the girls, they would have heard things of, oh, it must be really tough for females. There are less females in the aviation industry, far less females flying than men. But those things have happened, and everybody's working really hard to let everyone know that the aviation industry is very diverse. It's very inclusive. Obviously, a lot of the aviation roles are safety critical, so there's there shouldn't be quotas for employing people, but there's something for everybody in aviation. And it's strange now, because we go to a lot of schools as well, and there's everything we sort of say to them, do you want to volunteer and do this cabin crew job, or do you want to be the pilot, or do you want to, everybody puts their hand up. It doesn't matter, male, female, they don't see it. The youngsters aren't seeing it. My concern is that that the press are making it a thing, which actually, when you see youngsters, they're all growing up happily, all working together, and in their work time, within their career, they won't think twice that that engineer's female. It will be an engineer. It won't be a female pilot. It won't be a female engineer, or a male engineer. It will be an engineer or a pilot, and that's what is already there from the youngsters. I think it's just there's still quite a lot going on of, oh, it's really hard. You might get a hard time. You might, but it might not be because you're female, or it might just be because people are different, and they might just give you a hard time in your day's work, because that's how life is, and that is how work is. So I just always encourage them not to make more of it than it actually is.
And what is the sort of impact, do you think, of bringing schools and educators closer to industry?
So that's the thing we've been trying to do at Fly to Help. We set up, we've got a travelling airport, something that was developed in COVID. It's a big display. We go to school halls and we set it up, and it looks like an aircraft, but we do the whole role play of airports. So, with the lack of funding for schools and primary schools, and trying to sort of target the 9-10-year-olds before they go to senior school, of making aviation exciting. But it's hard to explain what we do to teachers and the impact it'll have. So we set up in one of the companies at the airport, we set up this travelling airport. We invited all the careers leaders, because I think if you can teach the careers leaders and the educators that aviation is accessible for all, you don't have to be a pilot or an engineer. You can work in aviation law, in finance, in business administration. You can be doing absolutely everything, operations jobs, bird management control on airfields, cutting the grass, everything. So we invited the teachers there to show them that things are available. And I think that's what's really important, because they're the go-between, and they can be the one, the be-all and end-all of whether someone pursues what they want to do. And if we can get those on side, I think we're sort of part of the way there, really.
And what do you think are some of the kind of key skills and competencies that young people need to have to kind of enter into the world of work, and perhaps even into aviation?
So I think it's resilience is a big thing at the moment, and having the skills to do hard things and not give up. And I think, and I'm guilty of it, I've got 2 children, older now, but you feel as a parent you should do everything for them, and you should give them something that they like and buy them that, or or just sort things out for them. And I think what's happening now, and I think this is going to be a generational thing, is when they come into a workplace or something starts to get a little bit hard, it's like, oh, can somebody sort this out for me, please? Because someone's always fixed things for me. So I think that's what you need, is somebody that's got a real good work ethic and passionate. With aviation, along with other things, you have got to be passionate and really want it. To say, oh, there's an aeroplane, I'd love to fly it, isn't going to be doing it. There's a lot of hard work that goes into flying an aeroplane, being an engineer, or so it's just building up themselves to do things themselves. I think is what they need to be doing, really, and getting out there and networking. And this is what I said to the group last week: just talk to absolutely everybody, hang around airports, work in cafes when you're young. Do work experience, but just talk to absolutely everybody, because the opportunities are there. Aviation people love sort of showing enthusiastic youngsters, and I think that's the feedback I got, was they couldn't believe how happy everybody was just to chat to them and show them everything that was going on, and talking to them like they're adults as well, not like school children, but you're adults here. And they realise that if you go out and you talk to people, you're going to get a lot back. I mean, as I say, they heard me passing somebody that was just passing, and it's, oh, could you just take 2 minutes to, and they would, openly, happily would. So um, it's the social skills. It's getting those social skills back that we seem to have lost over the last few years.
Yeah.
Talking to people and talking to each other as well. That's always really hard when we have a group that when they don't know each other, and that's hard to get them talking to each other because their default is phone. It's no, let's put the phones away. Let's all chat to each other. So conversational skills and communication, I think, is a key thing for them.
And you talked a little bit earlier about the post on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about some of because the program's been running quite a while now, right?
Yes, it has. Yeah.
So you must have kind of almost a generational kind of sort of
Yeah.
alumni network and so on.
So when I started with Flight Help in 2014, I think it was, and I was interviewing for the schemes, people were saying, "Oh, where do people go from the scheme?" And it's like, "Oh, I'm only just started." But I thought to myself, in about 8-10 years' time, people will have got somewhere. So now, 10 years' time, people have. So there are a couple of airline pilots in fact, LinkedIn post. I love LinkedIn. One young lad that was on our scheme in, I can't remember, 2015, has just started with EasyJet today.
Wow.
Another guy, Scott, that was on our course in 2017, he ended up he got his pilot's license, couldn't get a job because of COVID, so worked with Fly to Help and set up the Aim High schemes and worked alongside myself and to do, and he's actually just started a couple of months ago now with Ryanair. We've got an air traffic controller at Battersea. We've got one training at the college at the moment. There's lots of students went to aerospace engineering at university. I know I've forgotten many others,
Yeah.
but there are many others. So in fact, one she was working as an air traffic assistant in the tower as well, following my footsteps, and I was quite jealous. I could do it all again if I could. So yeah, they go on. The LinkedIn post today is Sam, who's at an FBO at an airport. It's fixed base operators that look after the business jets when they come in and sort of VIP passengers, and he's there, and he's just amazing. And he showed us around last week with the youngsters, showing them how they pull aircraft in and out of hangar, some marshalling and the role he does. And again, a few years ago he was on the scheme. So I think that is young people inspiring young people is, you can't beat it, really.
Totally agree.
So I might organise the programs as an older person, but I use my experience. But in my experience, it's getting the youngsters to talk to the younger ones, to really, really inspire them. So.
And what's next? What are your plans to where are you going to take this?
Oh, keep fundraising. We are a charity. We are a very small charity, and we do sort of donations, corporate donations. We're very, very lucky to have the Air Charter Association, sort of all their members do fundraising for us, and we can use a lot of their donations. But it's getting harder now. It's harder to apply for funding because people want to see what you're doing, and if you haven't got the money to do, it's harder to then sort of get the funding to do it. But our next scheme, in fact, we're thinking of sort of promoting the engineering route for the next scheme, the aerospace engineering side of it, in February. But we do have been sort of doing taster days as well for some that can't do the whole of their half term in October or February. We sort of want to try and introduce taster days back. The students don't get the same involvement because it is very short, sharp, introduction to aviation. But if you sort of find out where their career thoughts are, you can sort of make it to them rather than this is what we do, you come along and do it. We actually get people to apply for our scheme, see where they are, where they want to go, what they're thinking about, and then make that scheme for them. So we would love to do more. We've got a lot of schools that we're still going out to visit with our travelling airport. As I say, we role play, we get the children marshalling, we get them doing security, they have to check in bags, they get on an aircraft, they role play cabin crew, and it's just really, really exciting. But those youngsters, when they're older, we'd love them to join our Aim High scheme if they then want to continue with it. So we're hoping to visit more schools, more careers events. At careers events, we take a group of engineers and trainee pilots to talk to 14, 15, 16-year-olds. So we just hope to keep continuing doing what we're doing, really. So but yeah, it's tough. It's tough out there. It's tough for businesses at the moment. It's tough for everybody, but we keep going, and we hope to keep going. But as I say, we rely on volunteers and everybody opening doors for us. Without that,
and aviation's such an important sector, isn't it, for the UK?
Exactly, yeah. There's a shortage in pilots, air traffic controllers, engineers, all of those there's a shortage of. So we should be getting the big funding because we could do it. We don't do it on massive scale. We did have some DFT funding, which was fantastic, but that funding's for a year. So we developed so many things and had so many plans, but when that funding goes, it's gone type thing. But yeah, as I said, it's not a massive scale compared to having thousands of people come to an event. This is pure, near enough one-to-one. A group of 13 teenagers last week, but probably 10 of them, if not all, will go on and do something in the industry. So it works so well.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? This is quality, not quantity.
Yes,
which is ultimately I think is in the value of that is enormous. To
it
the
is.
industry.
But in COVID time, we were doing online chats to schools and everything else. But you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know who it's going out to. You don't know the impact. Whereas we can sort of follow. We keep in touch with them, and that's the other thing. We don't, once they've been on our scheme, it's not by then, thanks very much, next type thing. I'll be emailing them this week with all the scholarships that I know that are going to be available, whether it's 3 hours, 5 hours, a full private pilot's license, or whatever is out there. I'll research it and send it to them, keep in touch with them, hopefully sort of get people back, which we have had one reunion before, and they'll all keep in touch with each other as well. And I think that's really important for now. As a charity, we're not curing illnesses, which, because there's charities out there that are absolutely fantastic in doing that sort of, work. But, like I said the other day, we cure that lack of motivation, the lack of inspiration to do well at school. The future's, pretty scary for these youngsters. They're not sure what they want to do. They might sit in their room with their flight simulators or research some airport jobs or hang around airports because they like planes. But, we do that next thing. We get them in. We introduce them to people, meet new friends. Yeah, it's pretty bespoke, and it's just so valuable to the industry.
So I'm listening to this or watching this, and I'm maybe I'm working in aviation. I want to get involved, or maybe I've got son or daughter that's maybe curious about it. What's the next step that I need to take?
So contact us, contact Fly to Help, see what you want to do. If someone's working in aviation, based at an airport, wherever it is, offer their time to talk, or invite somebody around, or somebody that knows somebody that'll open the airport management team that will open doors. There are airports that will open doors, I know that, or find a local school that we could maybe talk to and get a group. In our time, we've been to Biggin Hill Airport, Oxford, Luton, and Gloucester. So it's not all limited to Gloucestershire Airport. If you have an airport and you'd like us to run a scheme, contact us. We could run it for you. You don't have to use your staff. Any youngsters that are looking to get into aviation, have a look on our website and register their interest in the Aim High programme. We run it from 14 to 18, although sometimes we think 14 is still quite young to take in the information that they're being given. And we may select somebody that's 16, 17 that needs the information a bit sooner. But it's not a case of you will never get an opportunity. Just register your interest and we will keep you in the loop for other involvements, but also any sort of corporate company that thinks they want to make donations, for us to run an aim high scheme for a week, it's around about £2,000, I would say. It's not that massive amount of money, but if it was sponsored by a company, we could involve that company more, and they could probably end up having somebody work for them. Like with the Skyborne Airline Academy that we visit a lot, and they give us a lot of their time to show students around. One of our students was interested in engineering. He's actually now an engineer in the hangar doing all his exams, and there he is working there daily, showing again youngsters round when we take them round. So yeah, just apply for the scheme, donate to us, offer your experience, chat to the students, offer your airport if you know anyone that's got an airport. So we can be there, we can run a scheme.
It's fantastic, and the impact is crystal clear for me. Last question, really, going back to you 16, what would be the one piece of advice you would give yourself now then?
Believe in myself more. My lack of confidence held me back a lot. I just didn't believe I'd be able to do the job, and then even when I was doing it, I felt that there was always somebody better, or I wasn't very good at it. And now it's just the confidence, but not in an arrogant way as well. Be polite to everybody, be just nice to everybody, talk to everyone, be interested in what people have got to say to you, because you will just go far. I haven't got where I've got through qualifications academically. I'm not that person. I've got through for being completely passionate about every single thing I've done. And that's why I'm so passionate about the youngsters now, because it doesn't matter where you are at school, whether you're going to continue at school. I love apprenticeships. I know there's been in times they've had a bad press, but I think they're absolutely fantastic now. And I think every young person at 16 that doesn't feel that they want to stay on at school and continue with education, they'll learn a lot more with an apprenticeship. So it's just to go for every opportunity, be really confident in in yourself, and where you want to go. Just stick with it. Do not let anybody hold you back or tell you different. So
great advice. Kim, thank you so much for your time
you're
today.
welcome. Thank you for having me.